was indeed a great retreat. The Large Enterprise Directorate of the Bank of Industry is headed by Mr. Mohammed Al-Kali. Under his portfolio, linkages are provided between large corporations and small businesses, creating a sustainable cluster of interaction between these businesses. And this, when run effectively, can reduce risk and secure jobs. I caught up with Mr. Al-Kali in his office and posed a few questions about large enterprises, including how the Bank of Industry plans to help medium-scale enterprises who tend to get stuck at this stage move on to become bigger ones, and also how well the Directorate has worked in line with the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan.
This is a very good question. Let me just give you some background before I tell you what we do in the Large Enterprises Directorate. If you may recall, in February of 2014, the federal government launched two very important documents. One is called the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan. Another one is called the National Enterprise Development Program, NEDEF. These two documents are very interesting because the NEDEF deal more on what to do on the SMEs to develop and prosper within the context of Nigerian development. While, as name implies, the NIRF talk about how Nigeria can be industrialized competitively. So, in BOI, we carefully look at these two documents. And these two documents fit into our mandate perfectly. We are a Bank of Industry. As name implies, we are here to develop Nigeria. So any document that has to deal with developing Nigeria, we take it very seriously. So we sat down and agreed, look, to efficiently handle this issue, we need to have two directorates. Earlier on, we had one business directorate called Operation Directorate that handled both the SME issues and the large enterprise issues. So basically, now we have two business groups. One is the SME group that deals with SMEs in line with the NEDEF, what is raised in NEDEF, and we in the large enterprise group handle the NIRFs. The NIRF is anchored on four industrial grouping. We have the agro-processing, which is very common, oil and gas, solid minerals, and light manufacturing that has to do with services, construction, so on and so forth. So the Large Enterprise Directorate is structured in line with those in industrial grouping. So we're able to key in properly and achieve some of the outcome that is enshrined in that document, like job creation, poverty reduction, import substitution, for forest generations, and so on and so forth.
And what has the effect of your directorate had on job creation so far?
A single large enterprises can provide a job that can be, a job creation vis-a-vis like 20 or 50 SME added together. Let me give you an example now, like Innocent, the one we are talking about, which grew from SME to large enterprises. Today he's employing about 7,000 people, right, as a big enterprise. SMEs, at average, they employ between, say, 10 to 50 and so on and so forth. So if you do the simple arithmetic, you can see there's something. But the thing is, when we talk about the real impact, rural SMEs are in the rural areas, so that's what jobs created. They use raw material, but also it depends on how you analyze the job creation element or how you view it.
Now, it is obviously important for large-scale enterprises to work with existing small businesses. Are you ensuring that these large-scale enterprises are properly linked to small enterprises to foster growth between those two?
One of the key parameters is SME linkages. When we are praising any large enterprises, one of the things we look at is how is this large enterprise linked to SMEs, especially in terms of sourcing raw materials or any other activities. That's why When they come, we ask them to tell us who are their suppliers, how they get the raw materials, and so on and so forth. In some cases, where the company is not even in a position to provide us a genuine lease, we can look at or discuss with our colleague and SME directors, look, we have this large enterprise entity that's looking for loan from us, but this is a product they are producing. Do you have any SME in your own portfolio that can provide the requirements?
Now, it is obviously very important that small businesses don't remain small. They must grow well enough to become medium, and from micro to small, then to medium, then eventually to large. These migrations are important for economic development. Is there anything your directorate is doing to make sure that small businesses does not remain small? I mean, the Bank of Industry generally. Is there anything you have in place to ensure that small businesses are able to move on to medium and then eventually to large businesses?
They need to understand each sector carefully, because even the migration you're talking about is very different. Let's take in solar minerals, an artisanal miner, whom I may call micro, growing into small or medium, have different tendencies and have different requirements than a small farmer in agro business who is farming tomato or whatever, who want to now start processing, blah, 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 blah. So the first thing is to understand the dynamics of each sector and what are the requirements of these SMEs. So there could be even a deliberate policy or the directive incentive to now make this value chain escalate as conveniently as possible. There could be some cherry picks on the line. If you see, a particular SME or particular enterprise is doing efforts, they need to be encouraged to move forward. So for us to achieve what we are trying to say is probably we need to take all these SMEs separately and group them according to their own platforms and understand the dynamics. And then provide the necessary incentives. That's very important. Because an incentive you're going to give in agro might be different from what you're going to give in solid minerals. Probably the guy in the agro processing needs fertilizers on time. The guy in the solid minerals might not need fertilizer for his own activities. Right? Then, number two is infrastructure, both soft and the hard one. If people have power continuously, that they know reduce their cost by higher margin, they now concentrate on what to do next. I will give you an example of a barber, which, his main critical equipment is the caliper, which it was might not be 10,000 naira or even less. But because of no power, he has to buy a genset which is like 80,000 naira or so. So the cost of the accessories, that is the genset, even higher than the cost of the major machine he is used to make the business. So that's a challenge to that barber. So if that barber has sufficient power supply from the main, which is very cheaper, he concentrates more on what to do it now. Probably he can focus on what kind of thing he will do to improve his own activities, probably more style, more this. So thinking will be different. So there must be sort of a deliberate activity to provide kind of. Then you have institutions to support this, capacity building.
Who is eligible for large enterprise loans at the Bank of Industry?
Everyone, every corporate entity is eligible except a negative list. Any business that's based on speculation, we don't go into it. Like you say, you want to do gambling and it's speculative. We don't go into it. Armed business, we don't go into it.
With the dwindling price of crude oil around the world, agriculture appears to be the next in line for Nigeria and, of course, the solid mineral sector. What is the Large Enterprise Directorate doing to foster growth in the agriculture sector?
For us, we want to look at all the sectors as very important, but sometimes we tend to be biased in certain areas based on the impact they do create or the possible or prospective impact they would create. Out of our population, over 70% lives in the rural areas and they depend on agriculture. So we quite believe that anything you do in the agri space, either directly or indirectly, will have a lot of impact across. And that impact will go to where is highly needed at the bottom. My own personal concern is when you are creating impact, yes, you can create impact across, but let's create impact where it's going to be felt. You see, when you go to the bottom, this is where you can see abject poverty. Where you can see sedimented poverty. Sometimes I call it condensed because some people are already giving off and they don't know anything except the agriculture I talk about. If they are encouraged in that area, I mean, like in those days, a farmer can just farm. What you want is he has 5 bags of rice, he sells 2, keep 1 for feeding, and keep 2 for running if should case something happen. And he's contented.
It is just 6 months to the end of the financial year, at least for the Bank of Industry. What big thing do you intend to achieve in your directorate?
Our role here is to see that Nigerian industrial landscape changes for the better.
Mr. Mohammed Akai.
Thank you.
I hope you will revert back to the information on this episode of BOI Weekly whenever you need them. You can watch it again on youtube.com/channelsweb. Send us an email to boiweekly@channelstv.com for more inquiries, or visit boinigeria.com. That will be all on our program today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Adeshawa Josh, and I'll see you again.